Today I'm Lee Douglas, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the EcoPool that you can see in the background. So what happened was that, as everybody does these days, you build yourself a pool, and as your family leaves home, less and less people use the pool. So instead of filling it in, we decided we would make it into an EcoPool, and we didn't do it on our own. We had help with professionals who have done this before, and they take pools and turn them into EcoPools. The way we did it was, if you have a look at all the plants around the edge, they are sitting on mats of polystyrene covered with shade cloth, so that floats, and then in the polystyrene you place plants, and they then move through the polystyrene and go down into the water. So as you can see now, it's filled up, taken up all the floating islands, so you can't even see them anymore. What keeps them going is that on top of the polystyrene we also put a whole lot of bark, which is then the organic material that breaks down and feeds the roots of the plants. What the plants do is they then take the water, or any impurities in the water that come down from the rain, for example, and they purify the water. So the water is constantly taken up by the roots, purified and let out again. And if you have a look, you can see the bottom of the pool because the water is clear. So you do not need any chemicals, chlorine, for example, to clean the water. It stays clean by itself. And to help the water, though, rotate, there is an underwater pump. Very small pump. It doesn't use a lot of electricity. We actually have it on solar, so this doesn't cost us anything. And during the day, the pump pumps the water through those islands, through pipes, into the pool, and it also pumps it through the roots of the plants that are sitting on top of those islands. So basically the water is circulated the whole day, and then at night we let it sit. So there's a pipe that sits on top of the polystyrene, and water comes out of that pipe along the way. So there are holes in the pipe. That water falls down through the polystyrene, through the roots, into the pond. So that's how it's circulated. And obviously the movement is through a pump. So the pump will pump the water into the pump. That pump's attached to the pipes. That pipes then move on top of the islands. And so that's the circulation, basically through a plastic pipe system. The islands are attached to the side of the pool with metal rungs that hold the islands in place, and then of course the islands float because of the polystyrene. So that's how the system works. It's quite simple, but what we've now got is, if anyone wants to, one can actually go swim, because the water is clear, it's clean. So it's a lovely way to just, have a cooling down. If you look at the surface of the old pool Marblite, you will see algae. There's two ways you can go with an EcoPool. You can either keep it clean by scrubbing, but then you don't have fish. You only have the plants, and then you have a clean pool, as it were, because you have to keep on scrubbing to keep the algae away, because there's no chemicals, as we've said before, to keep the algae away. However, we've chosen not to worry about keeping the Marblite clean. One other way, which a lot of people do, is they allow the algae to form this coating over the whole pool, and therefore you can have fish, and the fish then feed on the algae, and plus anything else that moves into the pool, because we've had dragonflies, and we've seen the dragonfly larvae in the water. We've had tadpoles in the water, and all of those smaller animals will also sometimes feed off the algae or other plant matter. We've had 3 different frog types here at one stage, and one of them was the platana, the other is the river frog, and at one stage we even had the, can't think of the name, but another frog. So, but they come and go, but there's always some frogs in residence. Even the red toads that live outside come and lay their eggs, because part of a frog's life cycle is that the eggs are laid in water. So the red toads come in between the plants, lay their eggs there, and then we get the red toad tadpoles, as well as the river frog or the platana tadpoles. And if you had to be able to look closer, we also get like water spiders on top of the leaves of the water lilies. We definitely have dragonflies. And then we also get what they call damselflies. Bees come from the beehives to drink. We've seen a lizard or two running around, obviously having a drink as well. So it becomes its own little ecosystem. And in here we have indigenous fish. We have 2 goldfish, plus a whole lot of indigenous fish, and they breed by making little holes in the algae, like a little nest, and they lay eggs in that nest. And so we've had a whole lot of babies come from our indigenous fish. At the moment it isn't that clear, so what happens when it rains, obviously we know rain brings dust, and so it'll now take a few days for the plant's roots and for the cycling of the water to clear the water to crystal clear again. But the whole of winter the pond was crystal clear because we didn't have any rain, so no dust came into the pool. At the moment there's a little bit of cloudiness, but if left for a few days it'll come crystal clear again, unless we have a bit more rain. But if you have a look at the step, you can see the algae on the step. It's basically 80% clear. And you can find people online who would be willing to help you. As we said, there are 2 types, the one where you have your water clear and scrub clean. There is another type where they build a wall in the center of your pool. And the one side of the wall is all your plants and the other side is your swim area. So there are different options. This is the least work and this costs us nothing. We don't, first of all, pay anything because we have the pump on solar and it really uses very little. And we don't have to scrub. Whereas with the other 2 types, with the wall in the middle or where you scrub off your algae, it just takes more effort. A lot of scrubbing and cleaning to keep the one side clean for swimming. What we also do is that this is only kept by rainwater. More and more we've tried to bring rainwater here. So what we've done is, first of all, we've got a gutter on the house that we've made a channel from the gutter to this pool. So whenever it rains, that's why we get some of the cloudiness, because the water comes also from the roof, which would be dusty, and from the roof into the gutter into this pool. If it gets very low, we also fill it up from tanks that have had rainwater in. So this pool is only rainwater, no municipal water. However, you can fill these pools up with municipal water. The plants are very good at clearing up that as well. Fish have not died. We've put both municipal and rainwater in and the fish don't. You do need to have a required amount of plants. I think it's about, the area is about half and half, maybe a little bit less. So if you look at the surface area of the pool, there are quite a few plants on the 2 islands. It's not quite half and half, but we found that it's adequate for clearing the water, keeping the water clear. Can't have too few plants, else it doesn't keep the water clear. And then of course we also have birds coming to, we have the hardy-dars. At one point I hadn't thought of, what's nice about the pool is that it's very difficult, say for hardy-dars, to steal your fish because they can't walk in a shallow end in a pool because most pools are too deep. So if people have ponds, they complain about the hardy-dars eating their fish, but most homemade ponds are very shallow and the hardy-dars can wade. The hardy-dars cannot wade here, but they come and they drink from here. We've had hammerkorps. Hammerkorps can't eat our fish because the hammerkorps' legs are too short. What they might do is walk amongst the plants and then look for some insects and look for some frogs, but we don't mind them eating the frogs and the insects, that's fine. So you even can attract some water birds. And then of course all sorts of birds come and visit here for water. And then something else I'd also like to mention was that when I said it costs us nothing, it also doesn't cost us anything in food. We don't feed the fish. The fish feed themselves from either the roots of the plants or the algae. Yeah, and thank you for watching, and I hope that some people can convert their pools. Instead of finding tons and tons of soil to fill up your pool, that you can create a little ecosystem.